Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to invite you to the third panel of this conference. The topic of the panel is very interesting. We've been debating about support mechanisms, about partnerships, and now we'll debate more also about essential part of the innovation strategy, and that's finance and more generally environment for innovative policies and again for support of innovation. Actually, it's quite often that we hear that in Slovakia that private investment in research and development is too low. And in fact, if you look at the statistics, you can actually see that they support this view. So that's why I'm really glad that we'll hear some interesting strategies or interesting tools how to motivate companies to invest more in research and development. And therefore, let me introduce our panelists. Some of them you have heard in previous panels. So I will only mention Mr. Thomas Alex Christensen from Denmark, Mr. Peter Olesen from Denmark, and Mr. Said Ismailhet from Sweden. And then I will introduce other panelists, Mr. Iri Hopineni from Director and Head of Media Technologies Laboratory, Nokia Research Center from Finland, Mr. Ola Kristen Rosanes, Deputy Director and Coordinator of EA Funding from Norway, and Mr. Robert Šimončič and from Chief Executive Officer of Sario Agency Slovakia, and Mr. Otto Verbich, Vice President of Association of Electrotechnical Industry of the Slovak Republic. So these are the panelists, and let me start with a very short story with the moral at the end, and our guests will excuse me for switching to Slovak for a short moment. Takže príbeh je nasledujúci. Išiel jedného pekného dňa cez les vlk a videl, tam sedí zajac. Prišiel za zajacom a pýta sa, zajac, čo to robíš? No, píšem si taký malý biznis plán. A o čom ten biznis plán je? No tak ten biznis plán je o tom, ako my zajace konečne zatočíme s vami vlkmi. Tak ale to je veľmi nerealistický biznis plán. No ale tak poď so mnou, uvidíš. Tak vlk ide za zajacom, zajac ho privedie k tomu svojmu malému domčeku, otvorí dvere, vlk vojde, zajac dvere zavrie. Po veľkom buchote vyjde zajac, opraší si packy a ide si sadnúť naspäť na ten pník. Sedí ďalej a ide okolo líška a pýta sa ho, zajac, čo tu robíš? No ale ja si píšem taký malý biznis plán. No a o čom to je ten biznis plán? No to je o tom, ako my zajace konečne zatočíme s vami líškami. Tak ale to je veľmi nerealistický biznis plán. No tak poď so mnou a uvidíš. Vyjde s ním, zajac ju dovedie k tomu svojmu domčeku, otvorí dvere, líška vôjde, zajac dvere zavrie, po veľkom buchote vyjde zajac, opraší si packy a ide si sadnúť späť na ten svoj pník. Ide okolo zajačica a pýta sa ho, zajac, čo to robíš? No, píšem si taký malý biznis plán. A o čom to je? No, o tom, ako my zajace zatočíme konečne s líškami a s vlkmi. Tak ale to je veľmi nerealistický biznis plán. No, tak keď je nerealistický, poď sa so mnou pozrieť. Tak teda tá zajačica ide s ním, prídu k tomu domčeku, otvoria sa dvere, zajac pustí zajačicu, ona vôjde, vidí miestnosť bez východu, bez okna. Na ľavej stene sú kože z líšok, na pravej stene sú kože z vlkov a v strede sedí veľký medveď. A aké je to ponaučenie? Na dobrú myšlienku potrebujete aj správne prostredie a samozrejme strategického partnera. Takže so this was just for beginning, and now let me invite our panelists for presentations. So first, Mr. Thomas Alex Christensen.
Thank you. We have split the Danish presentation up in two small presentations, hopefully. When we get money from the parliament, we always have to answer questions to the parliament, and the main answer is, does it function? When you give us money, what do we get out of it? What is the impact? And well, since I'm here among friends, we have, of course, failures where we cannot prove any impact. But sometimes very difficult to close programs once you have created them, even though perhaps it's difficult to show impact. For instance, our incubator program, where we support spin-outs from universities and other technology institutes. We support every year the creation of between 50 and 60 new companies. But according to researchers, we cannot show any real impact on the economy. But it's still difficult to close down the program, even though we spent approximately 30 million euros a year on that program. So that's an awful lot of money spending if we cannot prove our worth. Don't tell back home to Denmark that I have told this story, but when we make minutes to the parliament, we normally tell that we get some positive impact, and now we can also prove it. And I just want to show you a couple of slides. I think these results will also hold true in the case of Sweden and Norway and Finland, since what we had managed to do is to get what are the impact of supporting innovation programs for collaboration between business and research. We are supporting different types of innovation programs. I don't want to go into the details, but normally national or international activities. And if we look into national innovation research collaboration between business and universities, then the yellow line is companies who are participating in our program, and the Dutch line are similar companies who are not participating. We have an overview of 170,000 companies in Denmark. We know what each and every is doing, so we have found a match for each company participating in our program with the company not participating in the program. We have made sure that there are no difference the first 6-7 years before they enter into the program. And we can actually prove that those who are collaborating and investing in R&D activities in collaboration with universities, they are performing much better. And this is very important for us, because if this was not the case, we would not continue the program. Another interesting slide is the same with the yellow one, is the participating in international collaboration programs. This is the Eureka or Eurostars. I think Slovakia is participating in this as well. And we now can show that there's positive growth impacts on exports and also on productivity from participating in these programs. This is very important information for us, because now we can go to the parliament saying, if we continue along this road, this will increase the exports of Danish companies and also productivity. And then about commercialization, we cannot prove spin-outs are good for our society. But we can prove is that if we, instead of having spin-outs, are having education of PhD students in companies, then this is another way of technology transfer for companies from universities, that we do not educate all our PhD students at universities, but some of them in companies. I think the European Union has made this possible also in Slovakia this year with the industrial PhD program from Europe, which have called the 12th of January next year. And we can prove that the companies, they actually get higher profits if they have higher researchers who are doing research projects in companies. They also have higher patent application rate, and also, but no impact on factor productivity, total factor productivity, but impact on employment. So this is very important information for us, that we actually know whether our innovation programs is functioning or not.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to focus shortly on the element of public-private partnering in this area. And I will focus on one scheme that we have recently set up in Denmark. But allow me a very, very short historical introduction, because it's so important to our minds that we sort of realize that we have changed our globalization so much that we are very fastly moving out of the knowledge society into the innovative and competitive societies, where we have public-private partnering and where everybody competes against each other. And that is brutal and merciless. And of course, this happened very smoothly when we had the strong economy in the last 10 years until 2007-8. But now it becomes even tougher because of the economic crisis. And that, of course, provides a lot of challenges to societies and to national states, especially for small countries like the Nordic countries and Slovakia, etc. So the challenge is to create more public-private value creation, to increase our competitive abilities and sort of get a positive input, a value creation for welfare and quality of life. So this needs change in behavior and management. It needs more focus on relevance and priorities, and also on quality and impact of our systems, our instruments, our funding schemes that we're setting up. And what we've done here in this area between the strategic research area and the innovation and technology area and implementation phase, we've constructed a new structure where we combine strategic research and innovation. And we did it with the purpose of that the Danish industry should to a much higher extent be involved, not just in participating in research, but much more in both planning initially and execution of research and activity and innovation schemes. And of course, with the overall aim of maintain a kind of maintain and reinvest in research in Denmark, so that we sort of encourage the companies to keep a focus on that it's value creating to maintain R&D activities and even increase them in Denmark. And also, as was mentioned before, we have a very low participation of companies in university financing in Denmark. We want to increase that by collaborative schemes. And then, of course, on an international scene, to create strong centers with big visibility and attractiveness, so that we can get mobility and competence moving in and out of our programs. So we call that SPEARS, Strategic Programs for Innovation and Research. And we did it between, as I said before, the two major two councils, and using the two instruments that we have on each side, namely strategic research centers in our council and the so-called innovation networks in the Council for Technology and Innovation. So we started out in 2010 with two initiatives, one in the food area and one in the energy area, each of them with a budget of 16 million euro. And for this year, we are just now having a call and final decision on a new program in ICT and welfare technologies, a bit higher, 20 million euro. And the model for financing of these, we've sort of very much been inspired from the Dutch Top Institute model, where government doubles up if research in universities and research organizations and industry wants to collaborate and share the cost, then the government goes in and double up. So it's a 1-1-2 scheme. And that has resulted in two big programs, the one on food, Inspire, and the second one on energy. And I don't want to go too much in details, but they are sort of created bottom-up between industries and universities, deciding from the beginning on what to work on and how to work and how to fund this. And we got more than 50% co-funding from users, which was even better than we hoped. And in each case, we have more than 30 partners covering universities, research institutions, and companies. The activities, of course, are both research, strategic projects, PhDs, postdoc training, etc. It's also innovation, joint R&D innovation projects of variable scale, both in terms of science and participants, and we have special focus on small and SMV participants and also pre-projects. In the knowledge sharing area, there's included in these centers seminars and workshops, experience groups, project generation, matchmaking, and very much continued dialogues and programs for companies to be involved and to receive technology and knowledge through this collaboration. So the main success criteria we're using here is, first of all, that the projects, the center projects should be evaluated on its management, organization, and most importantly, the coherence and integration of the research and innovation activities. We want to get it tied together. The excellence, the scientific technical quality of the activities, and very importantly also the relevance of the activities to the area and their expected impact on growth, innovation and welfare. Fourthly, the degree and engagement of user participation, how much private and public companies participate in this. And the fifth criteria is international engagement and binding participation, and I focus on binding participation. We want to have committed partners here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this interesting Danish experience. And now we'll hear maybe from the other side, from the side of the companies, some few words presentation from Mr. Iri Huopaneni from Finland.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy to be here, and I want to offer a slightly different perspective coming from corporate and looking into the role of innovation, open innovation, and reinventing the company. So I come from Nokia. Brief figures about Nokia. Our expenditure in R&D in 2010 was about 5.9 billion euros, which is about 13.8% of the net sales of the company. We deliver about 12 phones per second. So during my about 5 minutes, we would have manufactured 3,600 phones, which is about 365 million phones a year. Those are quite large figures. Now, at the same time, the business environment is very challenging. The company is facing a reinvention, and this really permeates throughout the whole company in a way we do innovation. So rather than viewing a corporation doing innovation only by itself, we're more and more moving into innovation networks, orchestration of the future together with partners. And this happens in all dimensions of our business. It happens in the demand, in the supply orchestration, and what I'm primarily talking about in innovation. So how do we orchestrate innovation for the future to fuel growth of the mobile industry, benefits to the company, and benefits to the ecosystems where we are present? So the primary mechanism how we do it is by open innovation. So rather than thinking a closed corporate culture where we would spend our research or R&D only internally, we look at how could we engage an R&D department of millions, developers, our over 1 billion users of mobile devices, the academic partners that we work with, and the ecosystems where we are present. So I come from a corporate research unit. We're about 500, fairly small part of the overall corporate R&D of Nokia. Our main objective is really to be this bridge looking into the future growth of the company, but also to fuel these innovation ecosystems globally throughout the world, working with academic partners, with research institutes, as well as then our own product development, bringing people together, looking into future opportunities. How we do it is basically leveraging this knowledge triangle that was already mentioned in the morning. So we try to locate ourselves within the top innovation hubs in the world, globally. So be it in the United States, in North America, or Asia, or in Europe. Now in this talk I'm primarily looking into the European ecosystem and the way the instruments work with a big corporation like Nokia. So here you see some of the collaborations and framework agreements we do with some of the top universities in the world. This is tapping into the local innovation ecosystem and being part of it, fueling the growth. So what are some of the challenges or critical elements of the innovation policies that we look for? Of course, we want the environment to be predictable in a manner where we operate as a partner, but also then are in a stable environment regarding funding towards research, from public sector, but also then from small and medium to large enterprises. Part of the knowledge triangle is very strong R&D and education background, because this really fuels the innovation. We need the right people. It's about a good public-private partnership and culture. In Finland, in Scandinavia, or Nordic countries, we have a particularly good system driving innovation forward. I'll mention a couple of examples. Entrepreneurship and commercialization, it is important for a large company to be a part of an ecosystem where also the small and medium enterprises and the startups flourish, because this ecosystem together creates the strength. So it is beneficial for a company like Nokia to be a part of also other companies and small to medium enterprises' success. Now, what are then the instruments? Very briefly, how Nokia and the corporate research operates. These range from very open calls for proposals for research collaboration that might be a future topic that raises awareness. For example, cognitive user interfaces, or the quality of perception of future three-dimensional systems, examples of research topics that my unit is working on. They could be grants to specific universities within our ecosystems to work on some new topics. Publicly funded projects are a very fundamental part of our public-private collaboration. We work on the European level with framework projects, being part of the European Institute of Technology and Innovation, the ICT labs, which brings together the key innovation nodes in Europe. In Finland, Tekes, the Finnish funding agency for technology and innovation, plays a fundamental role looking into strategic initiatives which bring together academic research institute and private parties to work together on given topics. Then when we go to more internal developments, we look at framework agreement projects with our key universities, contracts, and then of course interns, employment, collaboration with individuals that become the future top talents. So this is the way we view the importance of investing into innovation from a corporate perspective, being part of these ecosystems or innovation hubs. How it works in practice, just flashing a couple of ideas. So in Finland, the Centers for Science, Technology and Innovation funded by Tekes are really bridging these governmental, university and industry initiatives. In ICT area particularly, there are 5-6 big programs where Nokia, among other small to medium as well as larger enterprises in Finland, are participating. The other dimension is the knowledge and innovation communities on a European level. So EIT, European Institute of Technology and Innovation, is now operating in its ICT unit, focusing on 5 European nodes: Berlin, Eindhoven, Helsinki, Paris and Stockholm, implementing this knowledge triangle, so bringing together education, business and research in novel ways. So thank you very much. Look forward to very, very interesting discussions going forward.
Thank you. So after looking at the innovation triangle from another angle, from a corporate angle, let me invite Mr. Olakristen Rosanes.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I must explain to the Slovakian audience that my given name, Ola, that's a common name for a boy in Norway and not a girl. As a further presentation, I can tell that I'm the grandson of a Norwegian entrepreneur who lived in northern Norway, more than 1,000 kilometers north of Oslo, who more than 80 years ago traveled around in Europe and in the United States to be inspired and to learn about furniture innovations. Now I am on a journey to Europe to be inspired and to learn about industry innovations and to tell about our experience on the theme financial mechanism for industrial research and innovation. You have learned a bit about my organization, Innovation Norway, so from my colleague earlier today, so I continue. Our total service is in 4 areas, but I will talk just about financing and especially about R&D contracts. But we are not alone. Innovation Norway is together with especially the Research Council of Norway. They organize 2 types of financial instruments. That's user-driven research-based innovations and tax deduction, or what we call it, skattefond. And then the third one, that's what I will concentrate on and tell some more detailed about. Yeah. We have a short time, so I speed up a bit. Industrial, public research and development, we have yearly about 250 to 300 million Norwegian crowns. 285 for this year, that means about 37,000 euros. Million, I mean. This contracts that starts with an innovative Norwegian supplier, an SME, who cooperate with a bigger company, a demanding customer, and they make a contract. And this instrument we have had for about 20 years, I guess, both private sector and also to the public sector. This instrument is quite useful for SMEs, but also for the customer. And what's we could show a bit more about these partners, who they are. We have this Norwegian supplier. They must be both willing, able, and ready to develop new products and services, and also they have to be willing and able and ready to go abroad to approach international markets. The domestic customer, it can be or ought to be a big international company, but it also can be a national company, or it can be a public institution or organization. And this customer represents good references for the supplier company, and it's very important that they have this position to the market, so it can be a way for the small SME to get to big market, international markets. Our role in Innovation Norway, that we will take part in this contract with financial support, with grants. Here you will see that the cost and the financing is split into 3. And then the LILAC sector, that's from Innovation Norway. The client company gives access to market. I said that was very important. That can be that they open their own ways to the markets, or they represent a reference customer who will be important for the SMEs to refer to when they want to access to the markets on their own. Here you can see what we have had financed during a period of 5 years. that the 750 million of euro, that's the value of the projects. And yearly we have between 150 and 200 projects. They apply for grants from us, and we can help, not all, but some of them, and depend on what kind of project this is. This R&D contract that do not include the commercial phase. So it's ends when it comes to commercialization, and but we can follow them through the phases until industrial prototype or test series. Here you can see we have this industrial R&D contracts. It's mentioned there in the center. There's a lot of other instruments too. We play an important role in, and we have had good scores throughout these years, and it is also evaluated. And I think I will end up with that tells about the objectives for this support scheme, and then it has shown its value. And this instrument was evaluated by the EU in 2010, and they got the silver medal. And it's mentioned why this is evaluated as a successful instrument, both for the small SMEs, but also for the money customer who can have a skillful development project together with an SME, and it's a cheap way for them to develop new products or services. So then back to my grandfather. I'm sure that that my grandfather, who died for more than 60 years ago, would have been happy to meet so many people dedicated to innovation and innovation challenges. He made his journeys by his own, but he inspired. He learned a lot about innovation, and on his way he built bridges between people and between countries. And I'm happy to have another opportunity to do the same, to build bridges between people and countries. Thank you.
Thank you. So after hearing about public support for research and innovation, I would like to invite Mr. Said Asmalzadeh, who has very much practical experience in setting up successful innovative companies.
Thank you very much. I will keep it very, very short. So serendipity innovation, I don't know how many of you know the meaning of the word of serendipity. But serendipity has been found to be one of the top 10 most difficult words in English to translate to other languages. And it's a little bit like success by accident, and like many inventions and innovations around in history. We have had the philosophy that it's very difficult to plan for what kind of innovations you are coming out with, and but at the same time, Louis Pasteur is supposed to have said that luck comes to those that prepare themselves for it. So we try to build our organization in a way so that we are exposed to serendipity. We started the company, the firm in 2004, and with a capital of 10,000 euro, which is mandatory for starting companies in Sweden, was by then. 10,000 euro has now grown to around 30 million euros by organic growth during these years. In early years of the firm's existence, we had a very interesting insight and a very interesting experience. One of our portfolio companies were nominated and won an award, a very prestigious innovation award in Sweden. And it was a 20-year anniversary for this award that they were giving. And we were interviewed by the biggest Swedish business newspaper. And we asked the journalist, how do you think our innovation is compared to the previous 19 years? And he laughed and said that they are actually doing a review of these all 20 years. And he said that they have found out that all these 19 years that they have looked back and checked, most of the companies, they have been very successful. Many of them in private ownership and some of them in public ownership on the stock exchange in Stockholm. But none of them made money on the innovation that they got the award for. And this was for us very, very strange. What does it mean? And so we started to do some studies of our own, and both on our own portfolio companies, but also on other companies. And we found out that this is actually what usually happens. You start with an idea, we will end up with some other type of business. And we have tried to adjust our process so that we really focus on the people, having really driven, talented technical intelligentsia and some business creative people, and try to form clusters so that they can work in a proper way and have a very long-term vision of how to build good companies. And I'm very glad to hear that the focus of the discussions today have so far been very much on how to build a good environment. Thank you.
Thank you. So I hope by the end of the conference everybody will know what does the serendipity mean. So let me invite Mr. Šimončić, Chief Executive Officer of Serio Agency, to talk more about Slovak experience in this field and the plans.
Thank you very much. I'm from the Slovak Investment Trade Development Agency, which is a government agency. The main mission is to create economic value for Slovakia and to accelerate economic growth. We do it by focusing on 4 areas. One is bringing in high-quality foreign direct investment to Slovakia with innovation, with highest technology, with R&D components, and creating innovation in Slovakia, encouraging those that are already in Slovakia to really upgrade their investments and bring in some components of research and development. We also support foreign trade for Slovak small and medium companies, by which we are helping them to grow. Third area is specific use of structural funds, European funds, to rebuild brownfields. But the fourth area that I'm going to focus on briefly here is a new focus of Serio, which is helping Slovak startup companies, innovative startup companies, to grow and to expand abroad. To take Slovakia on a journey towards knowledge economy, 2 areas where we can, as the agency, really contribute is one that I already mentioned, bringing in investments from abroad that will bring components of research development, creating innovation in Slovakia, which is the highest value for economy. And the second is even more important now for us, which is building on what we have in Slovakia, innovation, helping those companies to commercialize and to grow. For this reason, we set up a program. We're establishing a Slovak Training Innovation Center in Silicon Valley. We'll establish a pavilion in Silicon Valley in plug and play, enabling innovative Slovak companies, companies with ideas, to expand abroad, to expose those ideas, to learn, to build business relationships, to facilitate the transfer of innovation both ways, and by doing this, really accelerating economic potential of Slovak entrepreneurs. Who are we targeting in this program? Slovak startup companies, talented students with projects, managers with projects, innovative projects mostly in area of IT, and R&D projects, university departments, anybody who has an idea that can be in future commercialized and built into a company that could create innovation in Slovakia. What was the process? First, we visited Silicon Valley with the Minister of Economy, and we signed MOU with Plug and Play Incubator. Then Saria was charged with managing the whole project, setting up the whole project, and running it, finding the right companies to go through the program. So now we basically are in a process of setting up activities in Slovakia and activities in the United States. In Slovakia, we'll be preparing those companies that will be selected, train them in some basic skills, so once they get to Silicon Valley and get exposed to this new environment, they'd be ready to really absorb as much as they can. And of course, the core of the program then is in Silicon Valley. The main goal really is to create a mechanism to support and develop innovative and technology-oriented firms in Slovakia. Of course, many examples, many countries have done this before, many countries that are representatives sitting here. This is nothing new that we invented, but we certainly need to get on the bandwagon and accelerate these types of activities in Slovakia. So the objective, contributing to development of Slovak innovative ecosystem, lots of activities that were discussed here are actually in action, in motion in Slovakia, so we're just part of the puzzle and one component, and of course we need to coordinate our activities with universities, with other institutions that are focusing on accelerating the innovative ecosystem. Enabling Slovak ideas to be exposed abroad, to build business around them, to really build international business, facilitate the transfer of innovation. Those are basically three key components of these objectives. What is happening in the US on the Silicon Valley side? Once we send the companies there for a couple of months, first, of course, they get the full logistic support with the office, full support of networking events, access to professionals, executives, but also to special training programs in legal, in tax, in how to go to market, how to sell your products, how to find investors, investment forum where they specifically can pitch their ideas to a strong set of investors in US. All of that is a component of the activity in the United States. We are planning to rotate a number of companies next year. Right now we're in a selection process. We're starting a roadshow across Slovakia, going to a number of universities, looking for the right projects. We'll bring in experts from the United States to be in a selection committee, so we really have a very transparent process, selecting maybe 10, 20, 30 companies for starters to go through the program in Slovakia, and out of those, maybe 5 to 10 for next year to go through the full program in Silicon Valley. So I hope that one of these companies one day will grow in such a fine company as Nokia or Microsoft or Google. We're maybe a little bit distant from that, but if we accelerate these processes, we can certainly aspire to be a country with such fantastic companies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And as last panelist, we'll hear probably something more about these innovation partnerships from Mr. Otto Verbich.
Vážené dámy, páni, ctení hostia, dovolte, aby som na záver takým zostručnelým komentárom informoval o podieli na týchto aktivitách Zväze elektropriemyslu Slovenskej republiky. Bol som požiadaný s usporiadateľmi, aby som zostručnil svoj príhovor, čiže dovolte, aby som viacej menej trošičku zrýchlil a prešiel informáciu o tom, čo vlastne predstavuje Zväz elektropriemyslu na Slovensku pre celkový priemysel. Stretávate sa s tým pravdepodobne na rôznych fórach. Pre takú informáciu veľmi aktuálnu 2. júna tohto roka sme slávnostným kongresom za prítomnosti mnohých zahraničných odborníkov oslavili 20. výročie. Toto sú čísla, ktoré charakterizujú elektropriemysel na Slovensku. Poznáte SWOT analýzu, takže toto sú časti tie silnej stránky a príležitosti. Elektropriemysel sa dostal na druhú priečku v raste HDP a v ostatných ekonomických ukazateľoch za posledné roky hneď za automobilovým priemyslom. Máme niekoľko firiem, ktoré sú prestížne i v oblasti výskumu a vývoja. Toto je asi štruktúra najväčších elektrotechnických firiem na Slovensku. Vidíte, že pravdepodobne dochádza vplyvom globalizácie v niektorých tých miestach ku zmenám. Tu by som sa trochu pozastavil. K téme výskum a vývoj a podpora inovácií sa každý rok vraciame na osobitných seminároch. Hľadáme formy podpory, hľadáme príčiny stavu, s ktorým sa stretávame viacej menej každoročne najmä na ELOSISE, to je medzinárodný veľtrh, ktorý za účasti predstaviteľov vysokých škôl elektrotechnického priemyslu, ale i ostatných vzdelávacích úrovní býva každý rok v októbri. Keď si to tak skúsime predstaviť, čím by sa vlastne dalo pomerovať tá pozícia elektrotechnického priemyslu u nás s ostatným svetom, tak pravdepodobne treba mať štruktúru zúčastnených, to znamená výskumníkov, vývojárov, plus samozrejme pracovníkov na technických univerzitách, čiže vedeckej sféry a tak ďalej. Potom dostatok peňazí, to je to, čo každého asi napadne prvé, ale je tam potom tretí parameter, ktorý zas nie všetci si pravdepodobne uvedomujú, no a to je čas. Čiže je trochu problém v tom, že je dlhá odozva, kým sa na akékoľvek opatrenie nejakým spôsobom dosiahne merateľný výsledok a môže sa potom vyhodnocovať tak, že sa spätnou väzbou iniciuje nejaké iné zrýchlenie a zlepšenie. Myslím si, že k tomu financovaniu formám, našim orgánom, pravdepodobne, ak sa správne domýšľam, sú naše orgány porovnateľné s tými, ktoré sa napríklad vyskytujú v týchto severských štátoch alebo aj v niektorých iných. Veľkosť peňazí je daná tým, koľko vlastne má Slovenská republika k dispozícii. Na to, na čo možno nejakým spôsobom vplývať, je štruktúra tých zúčastnených. Po 2-3 rokoch rôznych hodnotení sme zistili, že nie je až taký problém v úrovni vysokoškolského vzdelania alebo vysokoškolskej vedy pre nás ako pracovníkov z elektrotechnického priemyslu, zamestnávateľov, ale vážny a citlivý problém je so záujmom študentov o tieto vedy. To znamená, že sme sa pokúšali hľadať formy, ako podporiť a motivovať najprv stredoškolákov a teraz dokonca už základné školy v tom, aby mali záujem vôbec na tie techniky ísť. Organizujeme vyhodnocovanie celoštátnych, postupne teda celoštátnych olympiád, ktoré si pamätáte pravdepodobne z predchádzajúcich období. Pokúšame sa hodnotiť úspešných, takže odmenu dostáva nie len ten riešiteľ, ale i škola. Pribúda nám to tak, že každý rok je väčší a väčší záujem a predpokladáme, že opäť s tým parametrom času o niekoľko rokov sa tá situácia významne zlepší. Keď by som sa vrátil k tomu slajdu, tak 5 až 7 organizácií v rámci elektropriemyslu pracuje tým systémom, že má vlastný výskum, vlastný výsledok, komercionalizácia alebo predaj toho výsledku. CREIT je Centrum pre rozvoj elektrotechniky a informačných technológií. Sme iniciovali jeho spojenie s Centrom pre energetiku, pretože čím ďalej, tým viacej sa problematika energetiky spája s elektrotechnikou. Nie je to tak, ako ešte pred 10 rokmi sa predpokladalo, že to pôjde skôr smerom elektrotechnika splynie s telekomunikáciami. Tá energetika dosahuje proste väčšieho významu. Ten pozitívny trend v spolupráci priemyslu a technických univerzít je i v tom, že skoro na každej univerzite sú zástupcovia elektropriemyslu vo vedeckých radách, koordinujeme projekty, uchádzame sa spoločne o projekty nech už zo štrukturálnych fondov alebo z agentúry pre vedu a výskum. Všetky tieto naše organizácie, ktoré majú vlastný výskum a vývoj, úspešne ukončili akreditáciu, ktorá je nutnou podmienkou pre získavanie finančnej podpory. To, čo tam je ďalej napísané, sa týka tých študentov. A posledný bod je viacej menej množiace sa rokovania o vhodnom a optimálnom vlastne vytvorení podmienok pre zahraničných investorov, ktoré dávajú šancu preto, aby sa elektrotechnický priemysel rozrastal skokovo a nie postupne, tak ako to máme často v minulých rokoch. LOC som už spomínal, je tam hľadanie tiež, akým spôsobom podporiť vlastný výskum a vývoj v priemysle. Oceňujeme unikát roka, okrem elektrotechnického výrobku a exponátu. Toto je príklad z roku 2008, ale v tomto roku bol ocenený unikát roka príspevok firmy, ktorá je schopná zlepšiť ekonomiku verejnej dopravy, takisto chránená patentom. Dovolte, aby som poďakoval za pozornosť. Veril, že týmto témam bude venovaná väčšia pozornosť. Z jednoho vystúpenia, niekedy tak asi pred 2 hodinami, ma zaujala jedna tá odrážka a to bolo, že treba o týchto témach viac diskutovať. Keď si predstavím, akým spôsobom sa hodnotia projekty dnes, je to také odosobnené, pravdepodobne, aby sa vylúčilo lobby a podobne, rôznymi formulármi, tak mi chýba často pri vyhodnocovaní výsledkov výskumu a vývoja a preberaní do realizačného prostredia v priemysle. Štandardná oponentúra, kde sa nie iba komunikovali výsledky, porovnávali a hodnotilo sa to, ale kde sa vytvorila aj atmosféra, pri ktorej vznikali nové nápady, nové zlepšenia, nové podnety na to, ako sa a kam uberať ďalej. Možno, že by nebolo zle sa zamyslieť nad tým, ako sme pred rokmi mali v Žiline vždy na jeseň Novtech, kde sa prezentovali výsledky, porovnávali, vyhodnocovali, iba že by to nemuselo byť každý rok, ale možno každé 2 alebo 3 roky, pretože za ten jeden rok sa toho toľko nestihlo. Dovolte, aby som ešte na záver poďakoval, že som mohol vystúpiť za zväz elektropriemyslu. Mohli sme tu sa dozvedieť a diskutovať mnohé podnetné postrehy od našich severských priateľov a nech sa darí nie iba elektrotechnike, ale inováciám hlavne.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At this point, we should have been already discussing over the lunch, but before we get to real food, let's get some more food for thought. So I'm opening the floor for your questions or remarks or discussion points. Probably this idea of discussing over the lunch is too attractive. Nevertheless, thank you for your attention, and I'm giving the floor to our organizer.
Yeah, thank you very much to all the panelists again, and now I'd like to invite you on behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the buffet lunch, which will be downstairs. We will start, due to the fact that we are a little bit behind the schedule, we will start at 2 o'clock sharp, so 15 minutes later, our next panel. And I ask kindly all the panelists of 4th and 5th panel to check if they have the presentations in our PC. So enjoy your meat and bon appetit. Thank you.
Thank you.